I didn't even know if this was going to be possible, so I did some work before I started recording this video. We're street bike swapping my 1985 Quadrunner 250. This is a 2x4 model, chain drive, hardtail. Guess what they call suspension in the 80s. I went ahead and I got this engine mounted in the chassis and squared up with the chain. You know, just made some flat bar, some triangles, and some mounts to hang the engine on the top here. I'm gonna start working on the intake and mounting this fuel tank, as well as mounting my radiator up top here. So we're just gonna go ahead and dive in. I'm super excited because that is a Yamaha R3 engine, 2015. It's got about 10-12 more horsepower than this quad had from the factory. I think it might actually be usable power. It's not just gonna be some wild machine, and we might actually be able to use it. Don't worry, we're gonna go test it in the wilderness in BC, Canada. Hopefully all this work that I'm about to do is gonna be worth it. That's enough talking. Let's get some stuff done. Now I'm gonna start here in the intake box. There's a couple things that I want to see through. First things first, I gotta trim these two front tabs off, do a little bit of massaging of the airbox in the front corner there. I think it's gonna fit pretty well. That's an intake box from a Yamaha Grizzly 600. We're gonna get it adapted to the throttle bodies on this 2015 Yamaha R3. We're gonna go ahead, get these tabs cut off. Then I'm gonna sand around this corner here with the angle grinder, get this airbox cleaned up, get it back in the quad. Let's do it. This is what we got going on. I got an electrical box with some bulkhead fittings going to the factory airbox intake runners that I removed from the airbox. So it has an OEM connection to the throttle bodies here. But I got that going on there. I got an exhaust flange bolted to that, and a 2¼ inch connector going to that Yamaha Grizzly airbox. I cut these tabs off for the front, and now I got lots of room here at the front. I was able to angle it up, and look at that. It's gonna be perfect. I have faith that this is gonna go right where I want it to, and that makes me really happy because I was honestly thinking this was gonna be a really big pain in the butt, but that looks really fantastic. I got a vacuum nipple on the bottom and a vacuum block that I'm gonna set up for all the vacuum lines I need to hook up on this street bike motor. I'm gonna weld up the exhaust, make a mount for this airbox. I had to cut the snorkel off because it was way too tall. I'm gonna go ahead and weld this connector on. That will pretty much finish up the intake. Does it work? Oh yeah. So I gotta pull this down into shape, quickly tack it. You know what, guys? Word of advice. If you reverse the polarity on your flux core welder, it sure does work a lot better. At least it did for me anyway. So if you're struggling with some really bad welds out of your flux core, try reversing your polarity. There's a good video on YouTube about that you can look up. I forget which channel it was, but I'll throw that in the video. All right, we got that welded. That's enough looking at those welds. Dang, those are bad. Clamps are tight. It's looking great. I'm really happy with how this turned out. Like, it almost looks like I'm a redneck professional. Got some cardboard here. I'm gonna go ahead and trace out a template, make a bracket for that. So let's get that going.
1, 2, 3, 4.
This bracket done. I'm feeling pretty optimistic here. So far, things have been going pretty good. You know, other than the fact that I drilled it backwards. But hey, I'll just flip it around. And it's gonna work just fine. Look at that. Well, I'm probably as shocked as you are. It's in there. I use the same template for both sides. You know, it keeps things super centered. We've got lots of clearance everywhere. Nothing's gonna hit. I'm super happy with that. Everything is fitting phenomenal. This clears the seat. I've moved on to making the final bracket on this side. I got it all cut up and I'm about to weld it on. She will be all done as far as mounts go on this side. Pretty exciting. So let's get this welded up. Went ahead and made another mount on this side. It's got a random hole in it because I wanted to use the rest of the spare metal I had. You know, we're working on a budget. Is that structural? You tell me. I don't know. Doesn't look structural, but I think it's gonna do the job. Same with the one on this side. Coolant hose clears and all that's good. On that note, I'm gonna get started on cutting this off and getting the radiator mounted. I'm just gonna weld it right back on. We got this cleaned up. You know, I'm getting really good at eyeballing it. I think I'm just gonna wing it. I'm gonna wing it on this one. Doesn't really matter if this one's perfectly straight. I'm honestly getting kind of sick of measuring things. Right there. That looks perfect. Ooh. It's almost like I used a straight edge. What's going on? I'll grab the radiator and see if that gives us the room we were looking for. Before, like, it would fit, there is a chance it could interfere with the bars. Way more clearance now. The bars aren't gonna hit at all. We'll go ahead and mount that. We'll go ahead and cut one of these out and then bend it 90 degrees. Now we're gonna make this look like this. I used a shouldered bolt. My battery's getting low. I'll catch up with you guys when I get the radiator on and the coolant lines done and an idea of where I'm gonna put this gas tank. We got the gas tank mounted. I also got the radiator mounted. Made a little gusset bracket deal to hold it on the front. And I put these brackets down there and over there. You know, these flux core welds came out pretty good in some areas. There's other areas I'm just not going to show you. All right. Honestly, there was not a better place to put the tank, and I want to run the factory fuel lines and everything with the wiring harness just going to be that much easier. So that's where it sits. Pretty happy with it. You know, I have no idea what I'm doing. So some of you guys are probably going to be like, the hell is that? You're probably right. The hell is that? You know? But it's a triangle and a square, kind of. So it's not going to break. Coolant lines are on. That was really easy. Just got a barb, extended that, done. Intake's looking great. And now I can move on to the next thing, which is the next issue. The fuel rail can't sit the other way because it hits the frame rail because it's pointing up. So we got to flip the fuel rail. I need to make a bracket there to be able to bolt it down properly. So I'm going to go ahead and make a cardboard template, and this is going to be the last bracket that I plan on making today. I got the template drawn out. I just got to add a little bit of meat on this side and should come out good. So I'm going to go ahead, get this knocked out. I just had to cut these two little tabs off the inside. So just hitting the bolts, but it should be good now. Feet are in there. It's gonna work. It's gonna work. I know it's gonna work. I had to go digging for some hardware. I got some kind of old Honda nut here. I'm not quite one of those guys yet. We're crushing the spacers. That's not ideal. I don't like that, so I'm gonna pull that off again. So I found spacers that were slightly shorter than the ones that were in there. I'm not even gonna say it's gonna work anymore. That's just silly. Let's get a different angle too. What are you guys doing? Check that out. I am absolutely gassed out. I gotta pack it up for the night. It's getting pretty late and pretty cold. The frost is starting to come in, but I'm super happy with how everything turned out. Like, everything is absolutely rock solid. It looks good. I got clearance everywhere. I'm super happy. Just waiting on some parts so I can do the brakes and all that. When the street bike was crashed, I guess this broke off. I got the fuel lines taken apart so I can get my new fuel lines tomorrow and run a fuel line, and that's like super major progress on this. Even utilizing the factory mount, so you still have the rubber isolators. Like, it's looking real good. It's looking real good. Just got to figure out the throttle and all that. But tomorrow's mission, we'll be at it bright and early tomorrow, and we'll catch up with you guys then. We're back. I also remembered my microphones today, so hopefully the audio is a little bit better. I got the fuel line from the parts store, and I got that installed with some casing, and I'm thinking I'm gonna run it through top of the frame rail right to the 90-degree fitting I got on the fuel tank. I'm gonna run the drain straight through this factory hole there. I think that'll be just nice and easy for that. And I went ahead and ran the line for the coolant overflow. I think that'll be a pretty safe spot there. And then I just gotta make sure the drain's going somewhere good. Got the foot pegs on. Everything's looking good. I think I'm gonna measure up skid plate for the bottom. I got this quarter-inch plate that I'm gonna cut to length and shape and weld her onto the bottom, because if you see, this quad's got an oil pan now, and I don't want to play that game. That's a real dangerous game to play out there in the woods. We're gonna get that part nice and safe, and just keep picking away at whatever we need to finish on this quad. I think the next thing I'm going to tackle is mounting the coil packs. I'm also going to go ahead and get my lights mounted. It's going to be somewhere in the front there, kind of tucked in, to keep it safe from any branches or sticks coming through. I was thinking of putting them on the outside here, but I changed my mind. We got the lights mounted. Just made another quick and dirty flat bar mount, so those will be looking good. I do have another pod light kicking around. I'm going to use these for the high beams, and then I have lights for the low beams as well, so we'll worry about that when we get to the wiring part. I got the ignition coils mounted, and there was just probably two of the most conveniently located bolt holes for that. I'm going to measure up this skid plate now and get that cut, and then when I get the engine pulled out to clean up the rest of the frame, I will weld on that skid plate as well. So should have clearance there, barely. I got the skid plate cut out as well, so that's ready to go in. I gotta get the engine out so I can clean up all this jagged stuff on the frame. Ignition coils are looking good as well, and I was able to get the vacuum line on the top of the engine to work. So I'm gonna pull that out. I'm gonna clean up the frame. I'm gonna weld that skid plate on and then throw it all back in. From there on, I think it's gonna be more of a final assembly. Pretty excited about that. We got the engine out, and I have welded the skid plate on the side of the quad, and it turned out pretty good actually. So I just welded it to the front, and then it tapered down a bit. So I made some little cross braces, you could call that, back there. And yeah, you know, the welds turned out pretty decent. I laid them on thick with the flux core, right? Real thick. I got some primer. I'm gonna prime this thing while we still got some heat in the metal. We got our frame rebuilt now. I rebuilt this too while I was at it. It really does look good from 10 feet away, and that's pretty much what I was looking for. The parts I rebuilt are definitely glossier than the parts I didn't rebuild. This quad is gonna be for off-road use, so I'm not looking for anything too special, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. This part looks a little less janky with some paint on it, so that's good. I didn't even want to show you guys those welds. I just wanted to paint right over them. It was pretty hard welding that thick metal with my flux core. I don't even know if it's rated for that 1/4 inch steel, but you know, guy did it anyway. It started to rain mid rebuild. You know, we got some fish eyes going on there. Guy's just gonna have to live with that, I guess. It's what you get with these outdoor rebuilds in Canada, especially in the wintertime. Next video, it'll be me wiring this rig up. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you guys on the next one.